Salutations, respected viewers. I'm George from Ireland. I'm outside Guildhall, London. So I'm told one should say Guildhall, London, rather than the Guildhall. So on this site was the Roman amphitheatre in ancient times when Londinium was part of the Roman Empire. And for centuries after that, it was the nexus of trade and politics in the City of London. So what you see behind me was completed in 1440, and it's the only stone building in the City of London to survive from that time besides churches. Many things were wooden and many things burnt down in the Great Fire of London in 1666, but mercifully this was spared, the conflagration. So a guild, well, it probably comes from the Anglo-Saxon word guild, meaning gold or money. People came to pay their taxes, and in the Middle Ages guilds were formed, which were like trade associations or professional associations for whatever your trade was. Butcher, baker, cordwainer as in making rope, a mercer dealing in cloth, grocers selling large amounts of food, particularly fruit and vegetables, butchers, and on and on. And so they would say, these are the standards in order to get into our trade. If you're going to be a carpenter, have to be apprenticed roughly the age of 14 and serve your 7-year apprenticeship to your master, then produce your masterpiece, which might be an excellent table, for instance, and then yes, that's good enough, okay, you can join, you're a master carpenter, for instance, and you're a member of the guild, and then you pay membership fees. They regulate what you can charge, they regulate quality of work and all the rest of it, and they stay together because they pray together. They would attend worship. There'll be a worshipful company, it's often called, that they do a lot of worshipping, not that they are worshipped, and they would pay into a common fund, and the charity would be each other, helping each other out in time of sickness. If you were became disabled, if a man died and he had left a widow and dependent children, and on and on. So guilds were about that, and each guild has its own hall around the City of London. The guilds today really have nothing to do with the original trade. Like the grocer's company is not really to do with people who are actually selling fruit and vegetables in large quantities, or the cordwainer's company is not for those who make rope. The name simply exists, and usually they are stockbrokers, bankers, insurance brokers, things like that. And they elect the Mayor of London, and the Mayor of London serves for a 1-year term, and he is not re-elected, or could be she. Has been two women have been Mayor of London. There's no law against being re-elected, but since the mid-19th century, that's not been the done thing. So anyway, the Guildhall, as I say, was the centre for government here. It's not where the Lord Mayor lives, but various meetings were held here. There are various sort of council rooms, and that's that. So it's the administrative nerve centre. And you can go in, it's open to the public most of the time, most of the rooms, and various famous figures like the Duke of Wellington, Lord Nelson are memorialised in there. Somewhat damaged in the Second World War, repaired, and after the Second World War, large extensions were added. There's an art gallery in there. The various things like the measure of what a yard is and a foot is, in case there was any dispute exactly how long a yard is. Now these days we wouldn't really need to know, we've got plenty of rulers which are measured very precisely, but in case someone was short-changing you, giving you less than a yard of cloth, you could go and measure it against that. Okay, so yeah, well worth going in, and you'll see these gigantic figures of Gog and Magog, these demons who are mentioned in the Holy Bible, and they're very, very tall. Now above the door, probably difficult to make out, Domine dirige nos in Latin, Lord lead us, or perhaps Lord direct us, which is the motto of the City of London. And there you see the coat of arms way up high with the flag above it. 2 dragons holding that shield. It's all white, but it should have a cross of St. George, a red cross on a white field, and the top left corner, the ensign, should be a little red sword. I'll show you a better multicoloured example of it. So Guildhall, well worth visiting. I'm afraid the post-war part is not aesthetically pleasing. What do you think? Not exactly hideous. And there's a blue badge guide giving a guided tour. I'd so love to be one of those. Okay, so here's a much better example as I turn around. Anyway, it was also a courthouse for centuries, certainly into the 18th century. Many famous trials took place there of Henry VIII's wives, Catherine Howard and who was the other one? Anne Boleyn, and their supposed paramours were all put on trial there, Lady Jane Grey, and on and on. The Zong case in the 18th century. Anyway, I'll come back to them in a minute. You see the coat of arms there with all the things I was describing. The Zong case was a ship sailing from West Africa to the Caribbean. And of course, some people had been abducted and they'd been sold by one African kingdom to these British sailors, pirates, perhaps be more accurate. And these people were obviously taken aboard in the most appallingly inhumane conditions, chained up, and many of them were going to die on the voyage. They were being taken across the ocean to be forced into servitude in the West Indies. But anyway, the ship was running low on fresh water, so it was decided to throw all the people overboard and just let them die. They just drowned in the ocean, hundreds of people murdered, and the ship sailed back here, the Zong, and they said, yeah, this is what we did, and we would like to make an insurance claim. Was that lawful? Was killing them, was that murder in any sense? Could they actually claim the insurance? Staggeringly, what they did was held to be entirely lawful, because these people, members of our own species, were regarded merely as property. Human rights were not around then, and they got their insurance claim. So it was horrific, but it was so ghastly it shocked even some of the pro-slavery people. It's one of the things which helped bring about an end to slavery, so these hundreds of innocent victims did not die in vain. There we are. That's one of the cases that was heard there in the Guildhall when it was functioning as a courthouse. All right, that's enough from Guildhall, London.